Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. Welcome to yet another edition of Africa Discourse. I am Wilson Marshall. Today is all about the proposal, suggestion of restructuring ECOWAS. Yes, Economic Community of West African States. You've heard about them? Well, if you've not heard about them, they are now 45 years old West African blocs coming together to form a single body for economic interest, political interest, security interest. But the big question now is, have they been able to live up to the expectations of the unit countries that came together to form ECOWAS? If yes, how come our beloved president is saying, look, people from Nigeria are asking for restructuring. I think ECOWAS should be restructured, and he gave reasons for that. With me here in the studio to talk about this, I have two legal practitioners. I have Barrister Matthew Edegase and, of course, Barrister Henry Nwozo. Gentlemen, welcome to Africa Discourse.
Good afternoon, viewers at home.
All right.
I'm waiting. Good afternoon.
All right, Barrister Matthew.
Thanks for having me, Winston.
All right. Well, due to the to split this discussion into two, all right, to obey the social distance rules and regulation. Well, you get to hear from Austin Timothy and, of course, one other analyst, yes, Henry, political analyst, to throw more light to this discussion. Let me start off with you, Barrister Henry Nwozo. A board has been on or inaugurated for 45 years. And money be pumped into the body, but it's like the unit, or will I say the components of West Africa, many of them are not feeling the impact of this said body. What do you feel about, one, the age, the money that's been earmarked for this body to do its job, and of course the call for restructuring by our beloved President Muhammadu Buhari?
Well, sometimes you might say age has nothing to do with wisdom. Sometimes again you begin to ask yourself, if a man is 45 years of age, the man is of age to know what is good and know what is bad. The ECOWAS, as a body, as it were, has done little or nothing to improve the lives of their citizens, as it were. You take Nigeria, for example. It is a good thing that the president has raised the issue of restructuring, which has been one of the issues that we in this part of the world has been asking that himself usually will look at. You look at his argument, you look at the issue of trying the issue of compacting, an issue of ensuring that the appointees, here you have 23 appointees, and he's looking at the area where it has to be reduced, where you have 13 commissioners that they have to be reduced, just as you have in AU, having only 6, as it were. And you'll find out that for the 45 years the ECOWAS has been there, they have done little or nothing to improve the lives of the people. And it has actually shown clearly in terms of the economy, in terms of fighting crime, in whichever form you're looking at it, other boundary, terrorism, and every other thing that has to do with it. The economies of these West African countries, as it were, has virtually been at its comatose because their people have been living from hand to mouth. Nothing has changed in this. Again, you will see him raising the issue that in terms of health, that they should equally look at it from the angle where the economic, the countries, as it were, will be able to work with the West African Health Organization to ensure that the issue of COVID-19, as well as in the area of storage, in the area of vaccine and others are. Then you now go to terrorism, where $20 million from our president has been earmarked or has been given, as it were.
We are coming to that because when Nigerians got to hear of that amount, many raised eyebrows.
You understand? So,
all right. So
you see $20 million has been given, and he equally has directed that $80 million should be given, should be equally be used for the Northeast and the Northwest to fight terrorism, as he claimed, as it were. You see, the question is, why vote so much amount of money when you have done little or nothing to improve the lives of the people? You are doing money, this money they are giving out every year, as it were. What actually has it been done with? Has it in any way affected the lives of the people, as it were? 0/10 as it is. Because this money they give, arms, when they say they want to buy arms, have arms been bought to fight terrorism. Terrorism, in fighting terrorism, as they claim, is not a kind of a paperwork, as it were. It is, you have to look inward, look at the causes, look at the causes of this terrorism. Have you been able to address the needs of the people? Because if the needs of the people have been addressed, I know of a truth that the people will not go the other way around. But because their needs has not been addressed, the only way they can create awareness is by being violent. And that is what you find in every part of West African countries, especially in Nigeria, as it were.
All right, Barrister Matthew, you heard him. Give us a foundation to this discussion. Talked about the amount of money earmarked for the purpose of fighting terrorism. $80 million earmarked to fight Boko Haram insurgents and banditry in the northeast of Nigeria. And of course, it gave also $20 million to the body, ECOWAS, so that they can come together, really function the way they ought to function. What do you feel about this disbursement of cash, this colossal sum of money, talking about dollars right now in millions?
Yes, let me start by correcting the pronunciation. Edagase, not Edagase.
Okay.
Yeah. So, coming to the issue for discussion, ECOWAS is more or less a mere get-together. It's a jamboree.
Jamboree?
Yeah, a mere jamboree. It has not achieved anything that has to do with the aim and objective of its founding fathers. In the areas of economy, they have not added any value to the West Africa economy. Any nation in West Africa that is having an economy, that is making some noticeable marginal economic progress, is as a result of internal arrangement, like Ghana, for instance. It's not a function of the input made by ECOWAS as a regional body, as you have European Union and all of that are able to build a European economy. As far as ECOWAS is concerned, it was an imitation of the original. Maybe they wanted to be like EU and the rest of them, but they never took off the ground. As we speak, the West Africa economy, the sub-regional economy, is not centrally managed. It's not managed. We have nothing to benefit as citizens of the sub-region from that body they call ECOWAS. Apart from unleashing Syria protocols upon protocols, there's really nothing tangible that we can point to and say this is what we benefit as members or citizens of this ECOWAS sub-region by virtue of that regional sub-regional body. So if that is the case, ECOWAS story is a story of a stillborn organization. It never lived, even though it exists. Then coming to the issue of releasing money and all of that. Sometimes you wonder why people will now begin to think charity will not begin at home. Why will Buhari be talking about restructuring ECOWAS when the agitation for restructuring that is definitely at home, he has paid deaf ears to? If he doesn't, if he's advanced to restructuring Nigeria, that is in their need of restructuring, with all the myriad of problems, then he's the one championing the advocacy for restructuring of ECOWAS. Then something is not adding up. Practice what you preach. If restructuring is not needed or it's not useful to Nigeria as a nation, then the leader of the nation, Nigeria, is the most unfit person or character to market what you don't want to happen in your own territory. The best way to advertise that message would have been to effect the structure of the nation. Then it would not be in a better state to say, what I have done at home, I want it replicated elsewhere. It's a question of what I forbid at home must happen elsewhere. People will look at it with serious suspicion. Why is this man selling to us what he does not want to accept in his own territory, his own country? So that is an aberration on its own.
All right, now if you take a look at the history of ECOWAS, you get to hear way back where they came together to foster peace and order in Liberia. You get to hear also when they went to Ivory Coast with the help of French soldiers, of course. They went to Mali to foster law and order. Is that not among the benefit of this great body? Because from what Barrister Matthew said, he said it's just jamboree, get together.
Well, nobody is saying that they have not contributed. It's just like in terms of percentage, you can decide to give them 20% as it were. That is the way I look at it. Well, apart from those areas in the days of Liberia, when there was war in Liberia and other places, they went. ECOWAS, Nigerian soldiers went as it were. But the question then is, after then, what now happened? Because the founding fathers had a reason for coming together, for the 15 countries coming together to decide that we want to form a body. And the essence of forming this body is to enable us to be united. At a point in time, they were talking about the issue of one currency, which never saw the light of day. And then on the issue of fighting terrorism, as it were, they have always, discussed it. But you find out that some of all these West African countries, like those of them who migrate, especially those from a particular, they migrate from place to place. At a point in time, have you been able to see that they have been checked in terms of their migration? The issue of border, of recent, when Nigeria closed its border against Ghana and some other countries, you saw what happened. There was so much pressure. Ghana on its own, our people were being threatened. And even those traders were asked to pay $1 million, as it were, because they felt that we have, checked. But we were trying to preserve our own country, as it were, in terms of the inflow of arms, as well as other things that were coming into our country. But they never saw it. So, just like my learned senior has said here, the essence of the founding fathers coming together of this group has been defeated to some extent, because by the time you want to take some measures, some other countries are not comfortable with it. Just as the issue of the restructuring that has been raised by the president, as it were, trying to reduce the number of members in the commissioners and as well. And then he now suggesting that if at all, because naturally, each member country is supposed to be represented. So if they are going to be represented, that some of them need to be, some of these countries need to ensure the maintenance of all of the upkeep, as it were. So you find out that to some extent, they have been able to, put certain things in place, but look at it generally, they have not done well with the idea, because the idea 45 years ago is not today. Because you must make progress. They have not shown that they have made progress, apart from that going to Liberia, the Mali issue, with the help of the French army, they were able to quell the war in Mali, Mali as it were. Apart from that, nothing has been done. They tried one single currency, it never worked out. In terms of trade, the trade has not in any way assisted anybody, as it were, because they claim they want to come together and ensure that there is free trade, as it were. But it has not worked out. Because when you want to put some measures to curtail some of the excesses, you find the countries being in opposition. And what has the leaders been able to do? Instead, internally, within their own mechanism, they try to punish your citizens, just as Ghana did to Nigeria, as it were.
All right. Now, he talked about internal wrangling. He talked about also member states being called upon to at least finance their own commission or representatives, so to speak. Is it all about the money right now? Is that where Mr. President is taking a look at it from that angle, financial commitment?
On the issue of financing bodies of this nature, if you recall, that was one of the major policy trusts prosecuted by Donald Trump while he was president of the United States. From day one, he raised the question, how come America is committing so much to NATO? At whose expense? Why should Americans shoulder the burden of funding a regional body,
so to speak? Yes.
Why are other member nations not showing equal commitment? Because the benefit of the effort is acceptable to all of them. Why will one man bear the burden of everybody's comfort? So he questioned that, and he basically reduced most of the funding and put it to them that whoever wants to benefit must also contribute. I think that is what Buhari is trying to imitate or emulate, whichever way we look at it. But the question is, I haven't said that. After saying that, he put $20 million into the body. So it's like appropriating and reprobating.
How?
He did not say, until this XYZ is done, we as a nation will not also be too committed financially. It has to be equitable. You raised the issue of financial commitment.
Yes.
There was no, you didn't extract commitment from other member states, but you threw in $20 million. That is not a token. That is big money to some member nations, member states, members of the sub-regional organization. So our Nigerian economy is an economy that is not living on borrowing, credit. Why will you be doling out money when your economy is ailing? When you are borrowing to even pay salaries, as it were. So the question is inconsistent on his part to be saying one thing and doing the other simultaneously. At least for us, should have withheld that donation, whatever it is, until other member states show similar commitment in practical terms. He didn't even pledge it. He ordered for the disbursement of the $20 million. At the time, Nigerian state is virtually begging for loans all over the world to run the system. Now we are almost at the point of selling our national asset to fund our national budget. Why will you be doling out money to an ECOWAS that is not critical to Nigerian economic growth and sustenance? What is the benefit of ECOWAS contribution to Nigerian growth and development? Look at the terrorism he's talking about. ECOWAS as a regional body, as you speak, could not offer a decisive mechanism to combat the menace of terrorism, ISWAP and all of that. They hold meeting from time to time discussing the problem with no solution profiled by them in practical terms. When you mentioned ECOMOG, during the days of IBB, the military dictator, there was an ECOMOG. ECOMOG was able to make impact. ECOMOG, as it were, was pushed by Babangida, maybe the Ghanaian president then. Yes. So they pioneered it, they pushed it. It was not actually a function of the regional body vision. It was pushed by some leaders who saw the need for that exigency to be attended to, and they got results. Because it was an ad hoc thing, it was not the regional, it was a problem of conscious planning. It fizzled out when those people left office. If ECOMOG was to be a standing army, we wouldn't have been having the issue we're having at Northeast, the Boko Haram that is now having the running riots. Nobody's, no buffer. In Mali, it is the French army and all those United Nations peacekeepers that are holding standing in the gap. ECOWAS cannot set up a regional army that can stabilize regional issues and combat insurgency. Then it's a shame. Their existence is of no moment if they can't achieve those basic things.
All right. Now, he talked about pushing. He gave an example with ECOMOG, saying the people that are really behind, talking about the brains not behind ECOMOG, we are President Buhari and, of course, the President of Ghana at that time coming together. Is this what Nigeria is doing right now? Still pushing the body? Because $20 million is not a main feat. It is not change. But they give it to the body. Is that the process Nigeria is still trying to initiate to make the body flourish?
Well, we might give it to him from that angle that he's trying to see how, as we'll call them, as we are Big Brother Africa, as it were, and being the leader, he's trying to see if that will, make other nations within the ECOWAS region to do the needful, as it were. That is why, remember that this $20 million we're talking about, it was not now that the issue came up. It has always been there that is going to be our contribution to ensure that fighting terrorism is taken care of. But the question then is, pushing the money, who are the persons who are going to manage it? How are they going to do it to ensure that the issue of fighting terrorism is well handled? That is another issue. Are they going to, is it the individual ECOWAS regions? Are they going to distribute the money amongst them to their police or the army? Or they are going to form a regional army that will help to fight this insurgency, as it were? So that is another issue. So, but if our own contribution is $20 million, what is the contribution of the remaining 14 ECOWAS states in terms of it? Are they going to contribute less than what we have contributed? Because contributing money is not an issue, because that is my own position. It's not an issue. But how are you going to manage it? It's not like in Nigeria here. Day in, day out, federal government has been pushing out money to the military, to the police, and all whatnot, as it were. But nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. Day in, day out, people are killed. Even in Benin City here, up to Saturday, people are killed. Recent, you now see the vigilante coming out, as it were. The police, you call them, there is something happening here. They will tell you they have no fear. They have no vehicle to enable them come. The question then now is, all the money that is being rolled out by the federal government and the state government to fight insurgency, to fight terrorism, to fight banditry, to fight kidnapping and armed robbery, where are this money? Who is this money given to? What is this money meant for? Was it meant to buy arms? Was it meant to buy vehicles? Sometimes you begin to imagine that even the people you said you are fighting, the terrorists as it were, they have armor tanks. You ask yourself, well, where did they get them? You see them in a Hilux Jeep with machine guns as it were. You also see them with aeroplanes and helicopters as it were. And a nation cannot afford, and day in, day out money. The $80 million the president has told us that he has brought out now for the Northeast, for banditry, that is enough to settle the problem of those people in the Northeast, ensuring that the people they have the basic needs. Because what is increasing the crisis in the society is because a lot of persons are hungry. A lot of persons have nothing to do. People are just existing, but they are not living because death has not come. And because of it, they get angry. Because you see there is violence, high level of violence in the society. It's because our leaders, few persons who has taken the charge of our Commonwealth, have decided to make it their own personal thing. And this has affected the nation as it were. So if government continue to bring out money, just at the $20 million to ECOWAS, $80 million to the Northeast, it will still go down the same drain. Tomorrow you begin to probe, that the man who was giving money to buy arms decided to confiscate the money. You now set up the FCC to be pursuing the man. The man at the end of the day is arrested, taken to court. The court will jail him, maybe give him 5 years or 3 years. The money you cannot see, because he has used the money either in buying things for himself or for his families as it were. So the question there is not bringing out money, but will this money be utilized for the purpose it is meant for? If it is not going to be utilized for the purpose it is meant for, then the essence of it is defeated. And that is why continuously you have crime in the society, because those who are to manage this well, like the one of ECOWAS, are they going to manage? What are they going to use the money for? The one in the Northeast, how are they going to use the money? Is the federal government going to buy the needed equipment to enable these people fight the insurgency in the society? Is the federal government going to use this money, as it were, to improve the lives of the people? Because a man who has job is occupied from morning till 4 p.m. The man will not be thinking of going into crime. The youths are graduating day in, day out. The universities are producing. The polytechnics are producing. The colleges of education are producing. The secondary schools are producing. These persons, they have no place to go to. The economy is based on paper qualification. Nobody is talking about entrepreneurship. Somebody should go on and learn handwork. We were growing up in the village. You learn. If your father is a carpenter, my father was a carpenter. I was working with my father. When I come from holidays from the school where I was when I left the seminary, I come to home. I go with my father. I work in the workshop. You understand what I'm saying? But these days, you go to mechanic workshop where you take your car to. You can't find somebody learning a trade. You can't find somebody. The other day I went to an electrical shop. I saw the man, electrician, auto electrician. He put a notice, a boy wanted. I was wondering. But you have a lot of persons who are in the society. So the question of bringing out $20 million, $18 million for insurgency in the north to the one of terrorism in the west Africa, that is not the solution. The solution is how will it be managed?
Okay, now you just raised another question. But before we go into that, the management of this fund disbursed to ECOWAS, is this burden, so to speak, not too much for Nigeria as a country? Because as it stands right now, it's like Nigeria seems to be at the center of it all. And you gave an example of the debt being owed to other countries by this great nation.
You see, this it has become a pattern, a negative one at that. If we remember, if we go down the memory lane, that ECOWAS was a very huge financial drain to the nation. At a point, the Nigerian people were asking, what is our benefit from all this commitment we made to ECOWAS to stabilize Liberia, to stabilize Sierra Leone? We lost so many soldiers. We put in so much money. It was virtually bankrolled by Nigeria then. Those operations. We wanted to behave like the superpower, like America and the rest. But when U.S. put in so much commitment, they also get commensurate returns. They take the contract in Iraq and all of that. They took over the infrastructural rebuilding and all of that. So the money come back to their system. In our case, we put in commitment, no returns. About 25 or 30 years later, we are repeating it. We are putting money into ECOWAS again at a time we need help as a nation. What has been the respect Nigeria earned from the sub-regional nations? Nothing. Our border is being invaded by Mali fighter and all of that from Chad, Angola and all of that. As is, we are being suffocated by foreign fighters. Flooding into the national space and wreaking havoc. So is it a nation that is in such terrible shape and distress that should be going on the rescue mission of nations that are relatively more stable? Nigeria needs donations now to confront its problems, not to become the donor. Now, if we're talking about a standing army like ECOMOG, if that standing army was on ground, and we say, oh, they are lacking XYZ equipment, then this donation would have made some sense. There is no framework on ground. That money is just like throwing a paper into a furnace. It will burn up.
Right.
There's no direction, there's no framework for that money to be utilized for the purpose that is envisaged. It's just a donation for the sake of donation.
A donation for the sake.
That is it.
Of donation. All right, gentlemen, I really appreciate a wonderful analysis. Let's get to hear from Barrister Austin and, of course, Henry. Let's get to hear their own point of view. We are talking about some total of $100 million. Have you seen an ECOWAS soldier in Nigeria? Maybe in the northeast or in the south, and we are pumping money into this body. My other two analysts will throw more light on this. Gentlemen, thank you once more for coming on today's show. I appreciate it.
God bless you.
We'll be right back. Do stay tuned.
The first thing is to be honest with yourself. You can never have an impact on society if you have not changed yourself. And one of the most important weapons in changing yourself is to recognize that people everywhere in the world want peace.
Richard didn't want to die, but he couldn't stop himself. The collision with the car didn't kill him, but he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, so he continued on his journey. When he hit the inside of the car, that didn't kill him either. But his internal organs carried on traveling until they hit his ribcage, and his lungs were punctured, and the main artery from his heart was torn. And that's what killed Richard.
Independent television is live 24 hours on Gold TV, channel 107, Star Times.
Thank you so much for staying tuned with me here in the studio to continue with the discussion, because I have to break it into two so I can follow COVID-19 protocol. I have Barrister Austin and, of course, Honorable Henry Omagbo. Welcome to Africa Discourse. I appreciate your coming.
Thank you.
All right. Now, you heard the first set of discourse. They talked about ECOWAS, talked about ECOMOG, talked about their exploit in the way, in the years past, talked about Nigeria bankrolling this body. Right now, we're talking about ECOWAS. Let me start off with you, Barrister Austin. Have you seen an ECOWAS soldier in Nigeria helping us to fight against insurgency, because this is what the president talked about, the fight against terrorism. He mentioned the Northeast, mentioned some other parts of the country, but this time around, earmarking 80 million to fight terrorism in the Northeast. People like saying that money isn't called for because we as a nation, we need help. What are your views on it?
Well, let me thank you first and foremost for having me. Concerning the issue at hand, I want to state very emphatically, first and foremost, that I have not seen nor heard of an ECOWAS soldier here in this nation, whether in the Northeast or anywhere else. So one wonders on what premise we are bankrolling ECOWAS. Because I want to believe that ECOWAS is an arm or a segment of the ECOWAS body, of the 15-nation body that makes up ECOWAS. Now, having said that, let me add very quickly that over the years, huge sums of money have been doled out. We have different operations that have been sent, the military men sent, Lafi Adole, and so on and so forth, for the same purpose. And at all material times, money has been made available for that purpose. So if you are talking about 80 billion,
80 million?
Million
dollars.
dollars.
Yes. But they come back.
That's the intrigue. That is the intrigue. That's the magic wand there. My brother, it's not worth it one bit. The question is, what have we achieved through the years? What has the government achieved? ECOWAS, it does seem to me, appear to be a toothless bulldog. A bulldog that barks but cannot bite. So let me leave it there for now.
No, all right, I will come back to it. He said ECOWAS to him appears to be a toothless bulldog, a dog that barks but cannot bite. Is that the way you view ECOWAS? And of course, related to the money earmarked this time around by our beloved president to fund the body, to make them more active.
What I would say is, for the first time, all through Buhari's administration, I see a government that wants to take leadership. It's remember when we were growing up, we have people like Julius Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah, Zeke, and all others as leaders of Africa. But today, who can you point to? Nelson Mandela came and he is gone. So who is fitting into true leadership of Africa? So for the first time all my life, I'm a guy who will call himself anti-Buhari. But the first time I'm really applauding him for taking leadership. If you look at what he has outlined for ECOWAS, you would say he deserves an applause. It's not to say that he is the best, but trying to get into a leadership role. Because you look at Africa today, what we're actually missing is leadership. We don't look at the whole of Africa. Who can you point to today and say this is a true African leader? We had them in the past, but presently we don't have any. And you look at what Buhari is coming up with. Let's try to give him some credit.
Some credit, right?
Some credit.
All right, you heard him. He said this is a leadership exemplified. He's stepping up right now to say, look, ECOWAS must not die. After all, we all stand to benefit from that body. Over to you, Barrister Austin.
Well, I just want to add that his argument is misplaced.
In what sense?
In the sense that Buhari,
President Muhammadu
Buhari,
yes,
is a fiasco on his own.
How?
Because in 5+ years, there is nothing tangible that anyone can look to say that this man fits into a leadership role in this nation.
But he's doing it right now in ECOWAS.
What has he done? Tell us what he has done.
He has made propositions.
Propositions!
No, listen to this. He has made propositions that he if you critically examine things that shows leadership quality, you understand, he has told ECOWAS that their overhead is overblown. They need to streamline.
Right.
And it's even compelled them to the AU. AU is made up of 55 or 50, is it 55 or 54 members?
Yeah.
And they have only 6 commissioners. ECOWAS with 15 members have 15 commissioners. So Buhari's argument is we need to streamline so that those resources can go into other things that can bring development. You understand that? Yeah. And not just that alone, he is saying that they need to set up a committee to look into the report of, what's his name, is he? I've forgotten the guy's name.
Right.
Yeah. And whatever that report says, it should be implemented. And if any nations that go against that have to bankroll their own appointees, you understand? That's taking responsibility.
Excuse
and
me.
To me, that is a step in the right direction.
You have spoken well, but for crying out loud, that's on paper. Let me say this. In 1983, Buhari was head of state in this country. He was there for like 15 to 20 months before his administration was overthrown. Nothing. ECOWAS was established in 1975, which means that he had had a taste of power before now. ECOWAS has existed, and I repeat, ECOWAS is a toothless bulldog. Just imagine, we having a president who can just talk so nicely. By the time he was coming in 2016, talking about restructuring for ECOWAS, the whole issue of restructuring was handed over to him by the previous administration. You are unable to restructure your nation. You want to restructure ECOWAS. You have to talk about 15 commissioners. What big deal is that to the sub-region or to the region? What are they? Is it a case of once you have a commissioner, he takes all? You are talking now about that. Oh, set up a committee. Let the committee go to work. Let them come out and begin to put things on paper to enable ECOWAS to run. For crying out loud. We have had these stories over. They keep recycling. And you are talking about 80 million United States dollars. Back home here in your country, your people are starving. Back home here in your country, a bag of rice goes for as high as 29, just falling down gradually now. People can hardly subsist. I think it is popularly said that charity should begin at home. You have a failure.
I will identify with what he has just said. Buhari on the home front.
No, President Muhammadu Buhari.
President Muhammadu
is our president, please, Mr. President.
President Muhammadu Buhari on the home front has not fared well. What is giving me hope is if he, probably now just waking up and towing this line in ECOWAS, if he can now reason this way, that gives me hope that maybe this guy has woken up and he will change his attitude towards home. Like he rightly said, charity is supposed to begin at home. Our people are seeing the worst of livelihoods. Things are really, really rough. Certain people are not even sure of where their next meal is coming from.
Absolutely.
When a man talks about restructuring outside and you're neglecting to do same back home, a call for questioning. So Buhari, like I said, I'm hopeful. And I'm talking the way I'm talking because first time all through his tenure, even from military days, I'm seeing him, have a reasonable discourse coming up with ideas about to reform ECOWAS. So to me, I'm beginning to see a new Buhari.
So, a new Buhari.
A new Buhari.
Okay.
And I want to see how far this goes.
All right.
I don't want to discourage him. I want to see if he can bring this back home.
Okay, now, do you think that if there is a positive response in ECOWAS, it's going to trickle down to its member states, for instance, Nigeria?
Well, if there is a positive response, you said. But how about looking at it from the point of view, I believe Buhari is presently the president of ECOWAS?
No, that's the Ghanaian leader right now. He's the one that's in charge.
Yes. Okay, now what Buhari has offered is a suggestion. How the other leaders of the region will take it, you cannot determine. Now my point is, at the age of 70-some years, suddenly, you are realizing that, look, your sub-region, or your region as it were, you know, has lapses. Now, you have no way of determining how the other heads of state will view or, you know, react to that which you have said. It's just his view.
But if you listen,
it's just his view.
If you read the article or listen to what Buhari said, you will understand that Nigeria has a lot of clout in ECOWAS. Based on Buhari...
A lot of clout.
Yeah, saying that if or any nation that fails to adhere to what the ad hoc committee that is headed by, is it Whitaker? His name? Any nation that does not want to go with that recommendations will have now to foot the bill of their representative. That's a clause there. And that clause is a big statement.
That's still a suggestion.
It's not a suggestion because
now, with this clause right now on the ground, if you cannot flow with a recommendation of the set-up committee, you foot your own bill. Don't think it's going to shake the foundation of ECOWAS? Because how many countries, they are just 15, how many of them can really foot the bill because they are all feeding, so to speak, on the body? How many of the countries can really foot the bill of taking care of their own representatives in ECOWAS?
A very good question. It shows that when you know that you are economically not able or viable to sustain your representative, you have to toe the line of February. That's
of the suggestion.
Of the
suggestion.
That's what it comes
but
down
again,
to.
But again, you must also look at it from the point of view that, you know, I continue to emphasize that on the ECOWAS table as we speak, there are so many suggestions. And the reason we are talking about this one is because Buhari is our president. So get it clearly that, look, there has been suggestions through the years. Now, that may, by and by, begin to lead us to considering the achievements of ECOWAS since 1975. What have they achieved? You talk about mutual economic well-being. What have they achieved in that regard? You are talking about a common market. What have they achieved in that regard? All we see is terrorists coming into this nation, Nigeria, to come and kill people. Like what is happening in Oyo State presently. So when we talk about, it's so easy. You know, word is cheap. Talking is cheap. But acting is where the problem is.
Buhari on his own alluded to the lack of achievement.
Of ECOWAS.
Of ECOWAS.
Of which he is part as the president of Nigeria.
At 45, ECOWAS is matured enough to be able to do the right thing. And time to start doing the right thing is now. My only thing with Buhari is charity is supposed to begin at home. We're having esme crisis in Nigeria that is not addressed.
Yes.
We have terrorism here that is not addressed. He has even, till now, till date, refused to label Boko Haram as a terrorist organization.
Even when the world has labeled Boko Haram, the world has labeled Boko Haram as a terrorist organization. He's refusing to do so.
You cannot travel from Kaduna to Abuja by road. Ministers, governors, those that cannot fly have to abandon their car, take the train. Life is not safe in Nigeria. I don't know those advising Buhari or if he's blind to all of this, but it's about time he wake up from his slumber and begin to understand that Nigeria needs more address as regard to terrorism than any other nation in the world, because terrorism is with us every day.
All right, now, like what you said, these people are coming from neighboring countries, and this form, you know, they're from the countries of the West African sub-region. Revamping or reviving ECOWAS, do you think that this will go a long way to aid Nigeria in the fight against terrorism?
No, it will rather.
Because he talked about terrorism also, so that each member state will come together to combat the common enemy.
My brother, words are cheap. He would rather, if, for example, what Buhari has suggested were to work here, then of course you have a free market zone. People can move freely and come in freely. You can now not any longer question anybody. Look at what happened in Oyo. I must talk about it because it's so germane. Look at it. Terrorists or headsmen went killing people, innocent people. One Dr. Fatai was killed on his farm recently. After investing and employing over 200 Nigerians, he was killed by headsmen. Now, one man from Oyo State came out and said, look, I'm going to deal with these people. Took it upon himself and decided with a few of his followers to go and sack them. We did not hear that he killed anybody. We did not hear that he killed anybody. And the next thing you are hearing is that the president has given an order to the Inspector General of Police to get that man dead or alive. That's not fair.
No, he did not say dead or alive. He just said arrest him to maintain peace. Please watch your statement, because I followed that story closely. He said arrest this man for now, detain him for now to let peace reign. So we'll settle this case. He didn't say dead or alive. All right.
He didn't say dead or alive.
Yes.
But to arrest him. What has he done? What has he done?
Arresting a man who wants to protect his own people.
He wants to protect. That's it.
To protect his own people.
But now maintaining ECOWAS right now, don't you think they can have their own military, you know, base in Nigeria? This time around, soldiers from various nations, from various countries coming together to say, look, we are here now in Nigeria to help Nigeria fight terrorism, because that seems to be the underlying statement of Mr. President.
Where has ECOWAS been since Boko Haram was discovered in about 1997? Where was the president? I remember that when Jonathan was president in Nigeria here, he accused Jonathan as the one that is funding and backing up Boko Haram. He accused him.
If you actually look at ECOWAS or ECOMOG,
and he will stop Boko Haram within 2 months. Did he not say so when he was campaigning? What has happened until now?
You look at ECOWAS or ECOMOG, you ask yourself, who is the real financier of ECOWAS or ECOMOG? Nigeria is. You understand? So that is why it is more of a duty for Buhari to strengthen the Nigerian security apparatus.
His own base.
His own base.
Home base.
You understand?
So maybe you should forget about ECOWAS.
No, it's not forget about it.
Deal with the problems
deal with
in
the problem
country.
at home. Because a house divided against itself cannot stand. What Buhari has succeeded in doing is to create tribal division. The division in Nigeria has never been more pronounced. You understand? Today you see a Fulani man, you are cautious. It wasn't like that before. I remember growing up, when they reared their cow through our street, we run after them.
And play with them.
And play with them. You understand? There was no... But today, you see a Fulani man, you run. Because of the impunity.
All right.
That Buhari has allowed them to operate.
Well, you wouldn't say the president allowed them to operate, because he's talking about peace right now. Let's go back to ECOWAS. Now, if ECOWAS is strengthened, because right now he has doled out money, he talked about $20 million first dollars, and of course 80 for the Northeast. If this is used effectively and of course efficiently, you don't think it will bring to an end this terrorism in Nigeria?
For me, how do you relate them? How do you relate the issue of terrorism to the giving of 20 million naira to ECOWAS?
Dollars?
$20 million to ECOWAS.
How do they relate? The problem here is so excruciating and so dreadful that they cannot be swept under the carpet. Our domestic, and just begin to take an assessment of all the monies that have been given to the military since 2016, 2015 when Buhari became president until date. Then you will understand. Now, where is he getting the money from? You have borrowed and plunged our economy into, in fact, a terrible, borrowing nation. Now, the United States is the biggest financier of United Nations, whether you like it or not. You understand, sir? And then, to that extent, they are not calling the shot, except where it has to do with their personal interest. Because you have the Security Council of the United Nations. You have the General Assembly of the United Nations. Now, with all this in place, relating it back to what is happening here, you give them $20 million. I just want to say, without mincing words, that money is not a stimulus package. It is rather meant for some mundane and ulterior purposes. But
you're not there.
No. From what we are saying.
Because he said this money is for this purpose, earmarked for this purpose.
Okay.
Reduce your commissioners.
Okay.
Let's know where we are going to. Reduce the cost
Wonderful.
in running ECOWAS so that we can really come together as a unit to fight terrorism.
Okay. Where is terrorism more pronounced in the Economic Community of West African States
than Nigeria?
Than in this nation? Where is it more pronounced?
You see, what is really even more frightening is that they hide under the Constitution, saying Constitution allow freedom of movement.
That is it.
So because you say Constitution allow freedom of movement, does the Constitution also give you the right to rape my wife, kill an husband, kill a son, destroy property, and
tell cows to start?
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
When we look at the Constitution, we should interpret it correctly.
All right, thank you. Well, we're not talking about the mayhem right now caused by some miscreants. You call them bandits, call them terrorists, because the president is doing his best possible to really stop the activities of these persons. And that is why he's talking about ECOWAS. Wake up, wake up. We will need them to come into Nigeria to help each unit company, talking about the states now, to fight against terrorism. 30 seconds each because our time is up. What do you think should be the way forward in this issue? Barrister Austin, 30 seconds.
Well, from the facts before us, I think that perhaps they need to create another body.
Create another body?
Oh, yes.
Scrap ECOWAS.
ECOWAS has outlived its usefulness.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Austin. Honorable Herrick, briefly, 30 seconds. What do you think should happen?
Buhari, instead of focusing more on ECOWAS, need to focus more first at home. Deal with the problems at home. When you overcome that, then you take what knowledge ever you get from here.
Outside.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. You heard them, their opinion entirely theirs. It has nothing to do with ITV. Let's see if they really listen to our beloved President Muhammadu Buhari when we talk about restructuring of ECOWAS, and if that can really help in the fight against terrorism. You never can tell. You can just see ECOMONG soldiers in the north, in the south, in the west, in the east, just to combat terrorism. Bye for now.
This is ITV. Certainly the best.